We back, or better yet, I'm back. We're doing a team recap of the New England Patriots. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. I thought that we put this series to rest. I thought it was done. Just a distant memory, and then my man Bill Belichick has to make, to me, what is probably one of the biggest signings of the entire offseason in bringing Cam Newton on. This is somehow considering he only had 1.8 million in cap space. So I guess we can hop right in, Mike. Usually we start with the draft class, but if you guys want to hear us talk a little bit more in depth about this, you can go check out our other video. But Mike, again, I'll just say, what were your general thoughts about this class?
It's a normal New England draft. It doesn't look too good on paper. Some of these players are probably going to fail. Bill Belichick has no problem cutting people early. Probably going to see some of that here. Maybe a player in 3 or 4 years will produce. Who knows?
I think what's most interesting is the fact that now you're going to have potentially day one 2 starting linebackers in Uche and Jennings, and then two starting tight ends. We saw what Cam Newton did with Greg Olsen in Carolina. So I think having SCSC and Keene, I think that's going to be really interesting as well. To me, though, it almost puts more bad attention on that Kyle Duggar pick, because now the fact that you might be, to me, the leader in the AFC East again. Now, getting a prime player that's going to actually contribute day one immediately, I think that would be even more important in kind of distancing yourself from the rest of the pack. Whereas before, it was kind of just, whatever, they're starting Jared Stidham, they're not going to compete. But with that being said, are you ready to hop into the offense?
Let's get into it.
It somehow looks completely different. One name changed. It looks completely different. So, I already kind of gave my thoughts in my quick little breaking news video. So, Mike, what are your thoughts on this Cam Newton signing?
Yeah, let's start with it. Vet minimum for Cam Newton. It's kind of disgraceful for a former MVP. It's interesting to say the least. I don't really get it, because obviously quarterback is such a position of value, and then somehow a former MVP, shows up and he gets vet minimum. It's kind of disgraceful, to be honest. But he totally changes this offense and kind of the dynamic of this offense. I think there's no doubt about it. And I think this situation is perfect for Cam Newton. It's just sad it's only for vet minimum. He has an offensive line. I think that's a great place to start. He has protection. That's huge. He's probably not going to be the athlete he once was. He's getting older in age. Obviously, the injuries. We're going to probably see a step back from Cam Newton as an athlete. But I think we could see a step forward as Cam Newton as a quarterback, just kind of maybe a game manager. I think that's what probably Bill Belichick's going to try to work on with Cam Newton, is just making some of those checkdowns. When he previously would have broke out for a run, maybe it's probably, hey, throw it off to James White. Let's just get the 3-4 yards, move on to the next play, instead of trying to break it off for a 12, 15-yard run. I think that's maybe what we're going to see from Cam Newton. And it's just kind of, this is maybe where it won't work, is it's a short offseason. Just today, there's 2 preseason games. They've shortened the preseason. So Bill Belichick and Cam Newton are going to have limited time to put this together, all the pieces together and make this work. But I think they can make it work, and I think it's a great fit for Cam Newton and obviously the Patriots.
To me, it's just the perfect storm, man. Honestly, when you think of what are Cam Newton's weaknesses, even, I would say probably number one is his deep ball accuracy, right? He has a pretty strong arm, but he's never been the most accurate guy downfield. Well, here you have Bill Belichick, who, at least from what we've seen, he loves the quick and short passing game. And now you add to the fact that, okay, Cam, you're going to be doing that behind what many would consider, and I think I would too, a top 5 offensive line. It's just so dangerous. And I know a lot of people don't love this receiving core. They didn't with Tom Brady. I don't even hate it with Cam. I don't really see how you can, because you have guys that are going to be able to do a little bit of everything in N'Keal Harry, Mohamed Sanu, and then we know what Julian Edelman offers underneath. So it's like I don't see how this team isn't substantially improved. And I've seen people saying that, they might still start Stidham. To me, that's that's why he got the big red cross on the first side. There's not a chance that you're starting Jared Stidham over a league MVP, especially when I think with this offense, if Cam Newton's even 70% of normal Cam Newton, I think that this could be a top 10 offense in the league, straight up.
No, I'd agree with you. I think it's going to be a fun team to watch. I'm very interested to see. Obviously, this is the first we've seen, not the first, but close to the first we've seen of Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. And I honestly think this is better than 40-year-old Brady. Cam Newton, a hell of a lot better. I think this is going to kind of create opportunities Bill Belichick maybe never had. Because as obviously I already said, the athleticism is going to take a step back. but it's still there. Cam Newton is still an athlete, and unlike some maybe like Lamar Jackson, he could throw the ball. Man, he is a quarterback. He's a quarterback first, runner second. Um, and I think it's gonna work wonders with Bill Belichick. Man, I'm excited to see it. And I think these wide receivers may work perfectly for what they're going to do. I think N'Keal Harry's going to be perfect. Obviously, last year we really didn't see the relationship build with Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's always been a very loyal kind of guy with his weapons. And once you build that relationship with him, he keeps that. It's hard to build that relationship with Tom Brady. At least that's what it seemed like in the past. Unless you were kind of that already elite player, then he's kind of willing to make exceptions. But it's kind of built up through the process. Let's work with me. Let's put the work in and the time, and then we'll eventually get there. Hopefully N'Keal Harry and Cam Newton can hit off from day one. There's a reason N'Keal Harry was a first-round pick. So hopefully that talent can really thrive with Cam Newton. And then obviously we know what we're getting from Edelman and Sanu. Some really solid options. Obviously they don't probably have a true number one wide receiver, but they got plenty of really solid number two options. And then James White, you might as well put him in the receiving group as a core, as a whole. Sometimes they're going to have four wide receivers basically, or we'll call them just receivers, on the field at a time. And that's going to be huge for Cam Newton. It opens up those options, and I think it's going to work wonders.
So, here, as you were talking about that receiving core, I looked up the Carolina Panthers 2015 roster. That was the year where Cam Newton went 15-1 and took his team to the Super Bowl as well as won MVP, right? Well, here's what he was working with then. Running back, Jonathan Stewart. Wide receivers, Ted Ginn Jr. and Corey Brown. You can't tell me that N'Keal Harry, Mohamed Sanu, and Julian Edelman, each of them aren't better than those two combined. Tight end, Greg Olsen, obviously. Now you have two rookies that I think are probably more dynamic than Olsen was. Not sure about better all-around players, obviously, considering Olsen is, to a lot of people, maybe even a borderline Hall of Famer. I'm not quite there. And then the offensive line, Michael Orr, Andrew Norwell, Ryan Khalil, Trey Turner, Mike Remmers. What's that say? That's really the last time Cam Newton had a great offensive line. Cam Newton was a league MVP. And now you're putting him here in a situation with an even better offensive line, even better weapons. And no, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl by any means, but just, the way that you turn this offense from, to me, 0 to 100 real quick, honestly. And that's exactly what you did with this Cam signing, even if Cam is only 67, 70% of what he used to be, because I think that at a point, not only is he going to elevate the offense way more than Stidham would have, but the offense is going to elevate him. And it's just going to work out perfectly, especially considering, he is on that league minimum deal. Everybody always wants to talk about how, you can't win without a quarterback on a rookie deal. That's been at least the kind of popular sentiment lately. Well, Cam Newton's on less than a rookie deal right now. And, they have a solid team of veterans around him, and I think they're primed and ready to definitely win the AFC East, if not compete further in the postseason.
No, I'm with you there. Obviously, I think in my previous videos, maybe we'll get there towards the schedule, but the Bills were my favorites. I think for both me and you, that's probably changed.
Not even close. Yeah, no. And we'll touch on that at the end. But one question I did want to ask you is, okay, so say Cam Newton has a really solid year this year. Say they're 10-6, 11-5. What do you think the chance that Cam Newton is the long-term solution in New England? Because I know a lot of people, they seem to think it's just a one-year thing. I think if Cam succeeds, this could be a long-term relationship.
Absolutely. And I think this also is going to be, obviously, maybe how long? Because he is an athlete. He's taken he has been, a running quarterback. He's taken beating to the body, unlike Brady, where he's been able to keep the longevity because he's been able to keep defensive linemen off of him and linebackers off of him to a certain extent. Cam Newton doesn't – he has wear and tear on his body for his age. There's no doubt about it. It's kind of like the argument with Lamar Jackson. Like, how long is he going to make it and be able to sustain what he's sustaining currently? This is kind of, to a lesser extent, what you're going to see. So I think there's definitely more wear and tear, and I think there should probably be a developmental quarterback somewhere in the pipeline in the near future. I think this is going to be interesting with Cam Newton is what kind of quarterback are we going to see in the pipeline? Is that dual threat? Because we're seeing more and more athletes come out of that quarterback position. Maybe that's something that Bill Belichick can work with and he's going to work with great, and maybe that's what he's looking for. Or does he need that prototypical, pro-style offense quarterback? I think that's going to be very interesting to see. But, no, I think for the near future, I think it could be, anywhere from like 3 to 5 years. This should be the long-term view. I think they can't get much better in the draft where they're going to be picking with this team.
No, in terms of that kind of prototypical pipeline quarterback that they get, what I find really interesting is that in the draft they actually passed on Jordan Love. They didn't select a Jalen Hurts when they had the chance to. So I almost think that maybe this isn't a quarterback like Cam Newton. Maybe it's not Bill Belichick's first choice. But again, when you're able to get him on that vet minimum incentive-laden deal, I don't see how you can really go wrong with this. And again, worst case scenario, it's one and done. And I think best case scenario, you have a 31-year-old Cam Newton experiencing a career resurgence in your offense, and you're able to ride this out and really extend that dynasty's window a little bit longer until the majority of these vets kind of get older and regress. So with that being said, are you ready to hop into the defense now?
Let's get it.
So, I'm going to start with this one because I was a little bit harsh on this front seven when we did the first recap. But what I think is really interesting now is that the defense doesn't have to be nearly as dominant as it did previously. Before I was harsh because the defense was clearly going to be the dominant side of the ball that had to carry you to wins, and it just got much worse, substantially worse, by losing the Van Noyes, by losing the Jamie Collins, Danny Sheltons, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now I don't even know if the defense is going to be the best side of the ball. That's the problem, because I really do think that Cam Newton adds that whole other dynamic to the offense as long as he can stay healthy. And now I kind of think a little bit more favorably on having young guys like Anthony Jennings, Josh Uche, Shalik Calhoun, Derek Rivers, all these young guys that we've seen them kind of stack up and build up in the second, third, and fourth round of these recent years drafts. I really like it. And even the Chase Winovich's, Dietrich Wise's, I think that someone out of that group has to take the next step and become the next Van Noy, become the next Trey Flowers. And I don't really mind it, especially when you combine it with that secondary, Mike. So what are your thoughts on that front seven and really just defense as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's young. It's full of athletes. They just need to make plays. I wish I'd like to see a couple more veteran presences there, but they don't have cap. They are now fully capped out. There ain't no more signings. This is what you're getting on the field. But I think with going with the young athletes at the front seven, I think they obviously have the depth, and that's with all the slash marks. I probably said this. I definitely said this the previous video. You're going to be running rotations. You're not going to put these young players necessarily in tired, maybe third and short positions. You're going to put a fresh body in at third and short. You're going to put a fresh body, maybe third and long just to rush the passer. You're not going to get tired feet, and I think that speaks levels, and I think that's might be why this works out comparative to other teams that we looked at that just have young athletes up in that front four, front seven. And I think they obviously have a leader. I think Donta Hightower, he's been kind of the consistent force in New England, and I think he's going to continue to do that. So hopefully he can really bring this team together, kind of help some of the young pieces, and just kind of ride this team along. And obviously that's an elite secondary. I don't think there's any denying it. You have Defensive Player of the Year. You have Devin McCourty, I guess, who probably is the definition. If you look in the dictionary of consistency, it might be Devin McCourty. And then Jason McCourty, no one wanted him coming out of Cleveland. And you pick him up basically on a vet minimum, kind of like what you just did with Cam Newton. I guess they're great at that vet minimum pickup. And he's probably one of the best cornerback twos in the league. I think it's just it's beautiful to see. So I think that secondary will help the front seven kind of perform, and obviously Donta Hightower as well.
No, and I think that every team is going to have a weak unit or two, right? That's just kind of the nature of roster building in the NFL. Well, this team now, opposed to before where you had a massive hole at QB and, then a weak front seven. Now you shored up probably the most important of the two, and now I can kind of live with this being your weakest unit on your roster. I really don't hate it at all, especially when you have those rotational guys. And as you said, the secondary is just great. Obviously, you just invested an early second-round pick in Kyle Duggar. He's going to fill that role abandoned by Duron Harmon. You have the great cornerback duo, of course, McCourty and Chung. They do what they do year in and year out at that safety position. So honestly, in a situation where I think that they might have became the second most important side of the ball now for this Patriots team, you can't hate this in my eyes.
No, for sure. But it doesn't matter what they put out there. It's about winning games. If we have a season, who knows at this point? The second wave's hitting hard and hitting weird. But, Mike, what's your thoughts on the season? Some games maybe you're excited to see? Or maybe the win total, kind of how it's adjusted for you from what we did previously in our last video.
Well, Vegas had the win total at 9.5 for them, and by all counts from what I've seen online, it hasn't changed, which to me is just blasphemous. But probably indicative of them not knowing what Cam Newton we're going to get. To me, I just say it doesn't matter what kind we're going to get. But, either way, to me, in the last video when we discussed this, I said this is more of a 7 to 8 win team. Well, now I'm looking more at the over on that 9.5, honestly, because I believe you said it previously that you were excited to see them against the Cardinals or Chargers or Rams because you thought they were in that tier of team. Well, now I'm excited to see them against the Chiefs and 49ers because I think that they could have the chance to be in that tier of team, And before when we said that, they might lose some of these games against the Bills or the Jets or, maybe even the Dolphins. Now I think that we're looking at, okay, now you might be going 5-1 in your division opposed to, a 2-4 or a 3-3. So it just completely transformative what happens when you upgrade that quarterback spot so substantially.
No, I'm with you. I think there's this is a winnable schedule. The question is, did the Bills, make enough improvements with Stephon Diggs and other improvements to take maybe that next tier? No, I don't think so. I think the Bills are always fringe. I think they were fringe last year, and I think they're going to be a fringe wild card team this year. I don't think talent-wise, I don't think it's close at this point. Well, I guess it is close, but I just think with putting Cam Newton behind this offensive line, I don't think the Bills can stop it, and I think that's going to be the problem there. And I don't think Josh Allen can perform. He's been mistake-prone, and I'd like to see him take the next step. I hope he proves me wrong. But against this elite secondary, we're going to probably see a couple interceptions come those two games. But obviously, I think a fun game right off the bat when we really can start seeing what this team is. I think September 20th, the Seahawks. I think that's always – any game against the Seahawks is a fun game. It's going to be competitive. But I think this is the more talented team, and I think we could really start seeing them, this team starting to put together and hopefully see a kind of just a dominant performance from Cam Newton and this offense.
And I think what's really interesting is, as you said, this isn't the hardest schedule in the world by any means, but at the same time, there are some really hard games that are going to be able to kind of provide a measuring stick to how you fall in the AFC and even just the league in general. And I think the Seahawks are one of those. I would say the Chiefs and Ravens are obviously the primary other two, with the 49ers being that last one. And, to me, it's just a lot of the other ones, I would say the Patriots are going to be automatically the favorites, and assuming Cam's healthy. Well, those are going to be the ones that are toss-ups to me. And honestly, this team could win them, assuming they find their rhythm and hit their groove. I'm just super excited to see what, really that November 15th game. I think will be super interesting because you have, Lamar going up against a great secondary and a lot of young athletes on the front seven. Now you have Cam kind of doing the same on the other side. You have just that amazing Ravens defense in the secondary, as well as a really solid front seven there. So to me, that's just a great game matchup-wise when maybe neither team's receiving core is that great. It's going to be what quarterback can rise to the occasion and defeat the opposing defense. But, do you have another game in mind, really, or do you think that's about it? You think this team is going to win the AFC East, and let's just put them in the playoffs now?
Just put them in the playoffs. I think that preseason week 1 game really interesting against the Lions. I'm just messing. I don't even know if they're going to play that game. They're only playing 2 of them. But no, I think it's about it. I think you basically kind of hit out of the park of what games are going to matter. I see probably 7 games that are going to be competitive, and the other 9, man, I really see kind of being kind of sweeps. So if you don't have anything else to say.
No, I think I'm good. Like I said, I didn't realize that we'd be back here, but we did the Patriots last. They were our 32nd one. We should have just pushed the series back a little bit, and we could have saved. We could have saved the back-to-back post. But
honestly, there's still some free agents available that we might do another recap. Wherever Clowney goes, that might be another look. Whenever that comes, if Yannick gets traded, that might be another recap. So maybe this is actually kind of a normal thing. Who knows? But we'll get there when we get there. But if you like this video, or you liked the last video, or you didn't like the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, maybe you totally disagree with us. This team is still trash. The New York Jets are going to win the division, no doubt about it. Let us know. We'll comment. We'll have a little discussion. We probably won't agree with you, but we'll have the discussion. We used to say, if you have a team you'd like to see next, we'll do that. Just maybe an idea of a video or something you'd like to see. We'll do it probably, maybe. Who knows? Maybe not. But we're here for you guys to spread football knowledge, or just to start a discussion. Mike, you got anything else to say?
If you do have a favorite team that you're looking for more content on, we're doing our NFL Top 100 series right now, where every team has at least one representative. I can confirm that. Maybe maybe if you're a Dolphins fan, yours are already out of the way, and Xavier Howard. But if you are a Patriots fan, assuming that's why you made it this long in the video, there's going to be a bunch of Patriots videos coming on the channel relatively soon. So make sure you are subscribed and getting those videos in your sub boxes, along with some special kind of mic'd up extras, mic'd up surprises, whatever we're doing in the meantime. As Mike said, toss some suggestions down in the comments below. But other than that, Mike, do you have anything else to add, or are we out of here?
I think we mic'd up. We mic'ing out. Deuces.
Peace, guys.